Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, coming to you from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. My son and I are here for the F1 race. We've never done this before. It's so incredibly cool. They do it at night, and so the whole city is lit up as these absolutely astonishing cars, McLarens, Ferraris, Mercedes, Red Bull. They're all racing on the streets, and when they zip by, we saw the qualifiers last night, you feel it's like rockets. I mean, you can feel the torque in your body. It's amazing. But alas, we've got a major scandal breaking out in Minneapolis in the backyard of Ilhan Omar. This is absolutely insane. What if your hard-earned tax dollars weren't just wasted, but actually sent overseas to fund terrorist groups? And what if this happened under the watch of state leaders who refused to act, and it took a bold move by Trump to finally stop it? Well, that is exactly what is happening. So last night, Friday night, President Trump made an announcement that stunned Minnesota. He is immediately ending all TPS, temporary protected status, for Somalis living in the state, citing as this justification the uncovering of massive welfare fraud and terrorism links. So if you don't know what's going on here, Minnesota is home to the nation's largest Somali population. Nearly 80,000 Somalis live there. That's where Ilhan Omar is from. Omar Fateh, the Somalian socialist, right, who almost beat Democrat incumbent Jacob Fry in the Minneapolis mayoral race a couple of weeks back. All that. All right. We are now learning, according to federal investigations, that hundreds of millions of dollars intended for social programs have been looted through fraud and sent in part to fund Al-Shabaab, which, I kid you not, is an Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group back in Somalia. So the fraud centered on programs like Feeding Our Future. We did a few videos on this scandal some weeks back. And little did we know we were just scratching the surface of the corruption. It was a $250 million scam where operators faked meal counts for children and pocketed taxpayer money. So we're talking lavish cars, real estate overseas, luxury brands, and yes, remittances back to Somalia, where large terrorist-controlled areas claimed a tax on financial transfers from abroad. As many as 77 people have already been charged in Minnesota's largest ever fraud scheme, and at least 56 have already pled guilty, many with Somali background. Now, another welfare program called Housing Stabilization Services ballooned from a budget of $2.6 million to over $100 million in just 2 years, most of it believed to be fraudulent. So like we saw with USAID, all of these nonprofit welfare programs are nothing more than slush funds for the people who run them. But here is what should concern all of us, every single American taxpayer. Somalia's economy relies heavily on remittances, much of it coming from the United States. Federal investigators and counterterrorist experts confirm Minnesota taxpayer dollars funneled through community remittance networks eventually enriched Al-Shabaab, this Al-Qaeda spinoff, via the money they forcibly take from all financial activity in their territory. One commentator put it this way: the single largest funder of Al-Shabaab in the world is the Minnesota taxpayer. Now, of course, all eyes are on two politicians in particular: the feckless Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and the utterly repulsive Somali-born Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. So Happy Hands Walz is being faulted for failing to confront or prevent this fraud, even though he knew about it. He ignored repeated warnings since 2020 about scams in childcare, housing, disability programs in the state. Republican Representative Tom Emmer, he's from Minnesota as well, and the entire GOP House delegation are calling for a federal investigation on the inaction and proper handling of fraud by Walz and his entire administration. And then back in 2021, Ilhan Omar actually recorded a publicity video for a restaurant that was at the center of this fraud, Safari Restaurant. This Minneapolis restaurant basically became a front for this money laundering operation. And Ilhan Omar is featured in a video at the restaurant, like, distributing meals to children alike, which is exactly what was behind this entire fraud. Now, she's claimed no involvement in the scandal whatsoever, but we now know that her campaign received $5,400 from two individuals who were later implicated in fraud investigation. And it gets worse because Omar was actually the sponsor of the Meals Act in 2020, which expanded federal food aid during the pandemic. And this is precisely the very legislation that created the opportunities that fraudsters exploited to steal hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers, much of which got sent back to Somalia and ended up in the coffers of a spinoff of freaking Al-Qaeda. Anyway, President Trump isn't waiting for Congress to act. He has officially revoked the TPS status for nearly 1,000 Somalis, and they're being sent back ASAP. And that termination of Somali TPS drew a line in the sand. Fraudsters and those who support terror must be prosecuted, and if they're not citizens, deported immediately. But more than that, Ilhan Omar's constituents basically got caught stealing from the United States, from you, the taxpayer, to then funnel money back to Somalia. Now, I would argue that this really is part of a larger trend among the cultural Marxist left known as post-Americanism. And the key to post-Americanism is that the political left today isn't so much about steering our nation towards progressive policies. They're actually more about looting and pillaging our nation for third world gain. So this is why the Democrats are more infatuated with illegal aliens than they are with American citizens. They see our nation and its laws and its systems as inherently racist and unjust. And we came to power by plundering indigenous populations. And now justice demands that those very populations and all third world peoples get to plunder us. And that's exactly what the Somali scam in Minneapolis was doing with your federal tax dollars. And the beauty is President Trump is saying bluntly, no more. Post-Americanism stops now. Again, the key here is that the political battle isn't so much left and right anymore, conservative versus liberal, Democrat versus Republican. It's really ultimately about American versus post-American. This is about those who love our nation versus those who hate it. It's about those who want to protect our citizens versus those who want to protect non-citizens and illegal migrants. It's about those who cherish our laws and institutions and those who want to destroy them and tear them down and plunder and loot them. It's about those who love versus those who hate, bottom line. That's what the culture wars are ultimately about. Minnesota just got caught, and President Trump is dropping the hammer big time. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button for breaking news and analysis you're not going to hear anywhere else. Love you guys. Got a race to go to. God bless.